In this tutorial, I'll show you how to do a really good chroma key effect using RED 5 and EDIUS 6. Hi, here I am in EDIUS 6 and I'm going to show you how to create a really good chroma key effect using Boris RED 5. So I've got some media here. This is yours truly and a fellow actress friend of mine. And we are filmed on top of a poorly lit blue screen over some firm footage underneath. So what I'm going to do is use the Chroma Key Filter in Boris RED to fix this, badly lit shot and create a very good key from it. So let's get started. I'm going to go to the Effects, select Video Filters. You can see Boris RED 5 right here. Just going to drag it on. Then I'm going to go into the Open Setup Dialog button here, where it launches the RED interface. So this is the media directly from my EDIUS timeline. And let's start directly with the Chroma Key Effect. Just rearrange this window workspace a little for you. Now I'm going to go to the Filters, Keys and Matte, and select BCC Chroma Key. This is the same Chroma Key filter from Boris Continuum Complete 7. Now you can see here that I've got a very good key pulled down from the start. If I go into the Show Matte mode, you can see the majority of the blue screen is removed. And if I adjust this density and lightness parameter, I can get a better effect there. I'm going to boost the lightness very high. See, it got rid of most of the blue now. Maybe pull it down a little bit so I have some room to work with. And there we go. So there's a little bit of transparency on his pants that we want to fix, but the rest of it looks pretty good. Back to composite mode. Okay, so scrubbing the timeline looks good. Another thing I want to point out is that RED's default mode is set to animate any changes. I have switched to that to the static mode, so if you're following along, make sure you do that as well. The next thing I want to do is apply a matte choker to fix up the kind of half transparency I have down here. So let's apply another BCC effect, matte choker. You can see it automatically fixed to a great degree the noise we had over here, but it also kind of smoothed out the hairline. So we don't want it to smooth things out that much. Fortunately, we can just isolate the choke to a specific region. So I've got these point picker controls here, and it doesn't really matter how far it goes on this end. This height is the only thing we care about, and that looks good. Okay, so now I've retained the nice soft edge I have around the hair, but we cleaned it up down around the pants, so to speak. Okay, so if I step through it, I can see it needs a little bit of touch-up. If I hide the effect, okay, you can see it's better, but there's still a little bit of transparency right there. So let's turn down, or turn up the blur, rather. Okay, so now that's fixed. If we go to a spot where we can see in between, we don't want to lose too much definition in the edges there. So let's bring down the choke quite a bit, and let's also bring that blur down again. Like, the less you have to do, the better. Okay, just that little bit. And you can animate these values in case, it gets worse over time. I'm going to compromise with that and continue on. Okay, great. Now let's apply a light wrap. So a light wrap will pull colors from the background and spill them onto the foreground. That's another BCC filter in Keys and Mattes. So what I'm going to do here, make sure it goes onto my media, is select the video as a background, the video from my EDIUS timeline. So if I click here and select Movie File, okay, I'm going to locate the footage I was using as track 2 in EDIUS, and that was this one, Footage Firm Beach. Okay, and just to get a better picture of what is going on, if I actually apply a new media shape to my timeline, I can load that same media in RED to see how it looks as a whole. Okay, so this is what I have going on so far. This is how it'll look in EDIUS when I apply back. Now if I use that light wrap, let me show you how this works. If I change the view mode to wrap on black, you can see the color edges going around here. So those are the colors from the beach footage in back. And if I adjust the width and lightness, I can get a really heavy, bleeding of the background, or a really subtle one. Boost the softness to make it softer, or bring it way down to make it almost just transparent edge. What I'm going to do is keep the softness about default settings and shrink the width way down. This effect works best when you don't realize you're seeing it. Kind of felt and not seen is what you're going for here. I do want to go back to normal view, see how that's doing. I can disable it, or better yet, I can use the built-in compare mode so I can see how it looks before and after. You can see it makes a really big difference, especially on the hairline there. Okay, that looks pretty good for now. As we do further color corrections, we might want to tweak it again, but I'm happy with that. Okay, so next, let us do some color correction so that the colors in our foreground match the background a little better. I'm going to use the new BCC 3-way color grade filter. This is new to Red 5, also new to BCC 7. And I would say the background is much brighter than the foreground, so let's turn up the global exposure a bit. Oh, actually, see what's happening here? It's applying to all the clips, not just this one. There we go. That's one of the cool things about Red. You can apply filters like, down the stack completely or specifically to an isolated track like this. Okay, so we need to brighten it up to match the footage for our beach. Okay, we don't want to overexpose it, just bring it up a little. Now, one of the nice things about this filter is that I can isolate the lift, gamma, and gain controls independently. So I can bring up the shadows, independently from everything else, which is ultimately what I want to do for this. Then I can bring down the mids to make sure I'm maintaining a nice contrast. And the brights are already, I think, bright enough, and I can make fine-tuning adjustments with the secondary slider underneath and reset them independently as well. Okay, much better. I can probably go a little bit less dark in the mids. And a little bit less. Okay, so they're enjoying a nice bright day on the beach. I should also probably put a little bit more orange into the foreground, since they would be naturally getting some spill from the sand if they were really on the beach there. Okay, not too much, but a very big improvement there. Okay, great. Now that I did all that, I'm going to take this light wrap and move it up in the stack because I don't want the color correction to apply to the light wrap. Okay, see how that changed? Very nice. Now that I've pretty much done all my color correction, I am going to mask out this area that is, isolated by the blue screen. That's a great thing about using Red, is that it has a really good compositing engine built into it. So first I'm just going to create a spline shape, which is pretty much the shape of the blue screen. I'm going to give a little bit of leeway around my actors. They don't move that much, but they move a little. Also, I want to point out that this mask can be animated, and by default it is animated, but I'm going to select static. And now I'm going to collapse that, toward line video 1, and just drag that spline shape I created onto the mask track. And there it is. So now they are fully on the beach in their full clothes, and there is a couple other things we're going to do just to fine-tune the effect. The first thing I want to do is to apply an effect called match grain. It's a very important touch to put on any keying shot. It will match film stock from your background and foreground. So once again, I have to tell it to sample the movie file that is being used as the background. Okay, and you can see there's artificial grain put on my actors, and it doesn't seem to match at the moment. So what I'm going to do is view the sample layer. You can see it's sampling the horizon, so of course there's a lot of contrast there. Let's move it to a more typical amount of grain from this image. I'm going to increase the sample size, get a more average sampling. Okay, and actually I think this is a little bit more even here. Now this is a very subtle effect as well. Now that I've come back, you probably can't even see the grain because of the compression on the video. It is a really subtle effect, so just to sell it home, I will sample a slightly more obvious part of the image here. Maybe like there. Okay, that's a lot more noticeable. Hide it. Should be able to see some difference there. And you can fine tweak this as well. Fine tweak, that's a custom term I just invented, by turning down the filter and adjusting the grain size. So you can do whatever you want here to make it more or less grainy, depending on what it is you are compositing. A CG graphic would probably need more grain than something that was already shot on video. Alright, and there we go. So we have some nice blending between the foreground and background. Film stock looks like it matches, colors match, and there is of course one thing I have been overlooking the whole time, and that's this little piece of tape here that was used to keep the blue screen sheets together. So we're going to mask that out too, and the way we're going to do that is kind of fun. We're going to use the paint tool. So I'm going to select the paintbrush and actually just paint over it. Okay, now no, we're not going to try to change the color of the paint to match the background. We're just going to use this whole paint track as another mask. So I'm going to pre-compose everything I did in video 1 there. Since we already have a mask on video 1, I'm pre-composing it so we can easily add another one. And then just drag that on. Okay, you can see that I have the opposite of what I wanted, right? So if I hit this little invert mask button, there we go. So now the splotch is gone, my actors are there. That's a very attractive pose from yours truly, and she clearly agrees. Okay, so you can see there, very nice blending of the foreground and background, and I don't need this anymore because I already have that in my background in EDIUS, which is right here. So, very nice keying effect done with Red 5 using BCC filters. And if you liked what you saw here, you can try it on your own for free for 14 days. So you can download that trial version at borisfx.com.